Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good morning or good evening, wherever you are. Hi. Welcome to Life Coaching Access, your daily access with professional certified life coaches, brought to you by Life Coaching Philippines. Life Coach Philippines is our community of professional life coaches certified by the Global Institute for Coaches and Entrepreneurs, a bona fide institute for mental health that is based in Dallas, Texas, USA. The Life Coaching Access is our service to the community, and we aim to help individuals experience the process of transformation through the platform of life coaching. If you want to know more about our international coaching classes and services, please connect with Coach Roselle through 0917-586-1661 for assistance. By the way, I'm Coach Tony for En Route to Forgiveness. Moving on begins with Mindshift. Your access with me is every Sunday at 2 p.m. So for my segment today, I will be sharing you episode 2, Discovering of the Self. Please tag your friends in the comment section below and invite them to join our conversation. You may also share this FB Live with your timeline and FB groups and pages so that we can reach more people and help transform lives. Alrighty then. So, good afternoon, everyone. Again, I'm Coach Tony. Before I proceed, please also note that we would also like to invite you to the Mental Health Certification Program. This is a 3-day program on December 5, 6, and 12. And for more information, please also contact Coach Roselle for this as well. All right, so hi, I'm Coach Tony, and I am a certified life coach here in the Institute. I specialize with millennials and younger people in the workforce, as well as relationships. As a life coach, I don't give advice. I am also not a guru. And so, to recap, we've talked about the transformational mindset, and the 4 steps to this would be admittance, discovering of the self, goals, and accountability. So with admittance, the key we talked about as to why admittance would be our starting point is that we should be able to admit that we have a problem and why certain things are very difficult to admit, or why it's very difficult to admit something. The key to all of this is being vulnerable. Being vulnerable to yourself will allow you to take the first step into accepting truth that you find difficult to accept. So you have to be in a safe space to do so, right? So now we move on to our second step, which is discovering of the self. For our topic today, we will just be looking at the broader topic of self-discovery, as each person has their own unique way of discovering ourselves. Um, each person is able to do so differently, and we get to see how different people are able to how different people are able to discover themselves, basically. So now we begin by discovering ourselves, or go through a little journey, so to speak. I'd like to begin with you imagining that there are multiple possible roads that we take in our lives. Some lead us to where we need to be, other times where we are needed to go. We get pushed along the way from our friends, from our family members, or our loved ones. And sometimes it may be for the good or for the bad. An example of this would be you spending time with me in Life Coaching Access. So whether you were invited by a friend, or whether you're invited by someone else, or you just stumbled upon this, in which case, hi, good afternoon. So coming out of this, there will be different scenarios where we end up discovering ourselves. And I would like to share you 4 major things that can, or the 4 general things that we encounter when we discover ourselves, basically. Our first is in times of crisis. It's very and how relevant it is right now, considering everyone has experienced here in the Philippines the two storms back to back. Um, how we are able to check ourselves, our own characters, our own our own responsibilities or our own well-being based on how we're able to cope with certain scenarios. Another major incident that has struck in our lives as of late is the coronavirus. How has it affected ourselves? How has it affected our family members? How has it affected our friends, our loved ones, anyone? So we must take time to be able to reflect and do a little bit of self-reflection also. In doing so, we end up contemplating. We sometimes stop and take a look at our own selves to self-reflect, or stop everything really. When we are alone, we are able to look and stop and think about our own lives. How has it been affected by everything so far? How has life treated you? Or how did has certain people how is certain people you how is certain people affect you in life, so to speak. Another one is when we are with people. So when we talk with others, we sometimes get lost in conversation or we just enjoy their company. We are able to do things that we would normally do, like for example, try out a new dish or um, try out something new entirely, or how we are able to do something that we would normally do. A personal example of mine would be uh, taking a zip line. So I have a personal fear of heights, and I wouldn't normally like strap myself in a zip line and look down. It was very terrifying, honestly, but because I was pushed by a dare from someone, I decided to give it a try so that I can say that I really did the thing or did the zip line. And once I was able to reach the end, I discovered that I actually loved the adrenaline rush that everyone experienced. Um, Hi, Coach Tin. Hi, Coach Candy. Thank you for joining with me. So yeah, it's something that I didn't expect to enjoy, really. Let's see. And another way that we are able to discover ourselves is when people tell you something. What is that something? It really depends. Sometimes it may be a good thing, sometimes it may be a bad thing. It goes back to our own personal blind spots. Sometimes people will say, "Oh, I didn't know you were very excited about a, for example, this topic or this movie that you loved." And initially you thought, hmm, I would I would normally think I would just enjoy watching this film, but apparently, you being able to express that love of that movie may indicate that you may that you may be a movie enthusiast, or maybe love that topic specifically. So these are just four general basic things that or four basic scenarios that I'm able to share with you. Um, I'm coming from this from asking multiple different people, and overall these are the four things that I was able to gather from different people. And there may be some things here that may not apply to you personally. So if I were to ask, what are some scenarios that you are able to find yourself in, that you are able to express yourself or discover something that you weren't able to, basically. Or a better way to put it would be, what would be the best, or what scenario that you ended up in where you thought that you wouldn't like something, but you ended up liking something? Or what were times that you discovered that you enjoyed something? And for me, that would be times when I'm alone, or when I take a hike, or when I walk, or when I read, or when I interact with people. I sometimes don't know, or I sometimes learn some negative qualities about myself that I thought I didn't have, but because people told me about it, I had to address it by myself or with others so that I can become a better version of myself. So I'd like to ask everyone here who's watching, or you personally at home, you don't have to answer in the comments, but how do you or what are some scenarios that you self-discover? All right. So I would like to share with you now the four paths to self-discovery. Now, again, I'm just generalizing here as some things may not apply to you personally, but I'm just sharing with you so that you may be able to maybe help, mm, maybe help you learn something about yourself. So before I move forward, remember with admittance, you have to be very vulnerable about who you are as a person. You have to be able to accept things that you may not necessarily learn to accept. And that is a good thing. That means you are growing as a person and you are able to move forward with what you need to do. And so that's why we do admittance first. So the first thing I'd like to share is through meditation. When we look into ourselves, when we ask questions like, why do I feel a certain way? Or why do I feel angry or sad or motivated by a certain thing? We sometimes have to ask ourselves why, or sometimes we have to talk to ourselves. The key is you talking to yourself and how you should go about things and how you are willing to share what you want to share with yourself, not just, and that's okay. You are able to, if not for others, then do something for yourself. And hopefully that's what meditation can bring. Another thing I'd like to share is contemplation. Now, there is a difference between meditation and contemplation. People may change the two topics, but this is more contemplation is more about what we know about ourselves in place of others. And what I mean by that is, has there been a time where you've heard something from someone and you stop and think about what they said or what they are able to or what they said basically? Were there times where you were able to change or think about something that made you be able to bring your journey or your personal problems forward? Maybe it's time that we do both meditation and contemplation, because a mixture of both can sometimes help. It's also good to talk to other people as well. So it's good to mix between the two. It can be good to meditate one day and contemplate the next day, or either of the two, really. A third thing that I want to share is going to your quiet place. Now, what I mean by this, it doesn't necessarily have to mean going to a library where you are to your own thoughts. What I mean by this is go to the place that makes you feel warm and quiet and feel nice. A personal example of mine is going through hikes and going through the woods. It helped me talk to myself. Or if you're a religious person, maybe you can go to your church or and talk to God, or go to some place that you can keep to yourself and have have that personal inner peace that you're able to calm your mind. Basically, it's it's those times that we we tend to forget when we're busy with our own lives, and it helps that we are able to bring what we can to where we are currently in our journey towards life. So finding that quiet place can help you in that. Um, and lastly, get into your zone. So what I mean by that is, say for example, you are very much engrossed in something that you're reading. When was the last, or when you were reading about a certain character, sometimes you get lost, or when you're reading a book rather, you get lost in in deep thought, and you imagine that world that you're in, that book, that adventure. And when you're done reading the book, it felt like minutes just passed, or an entire story passed, even or just a few minutes passed. But when in reality, hours passed, or days even. So what I mean by getting into your zone, I mean that you must be able to have that have that um, have that or get lost into yourself basically. When we get into our zone, we sometimes are frustrated in things that we can't do. For example, you're building a model car, and though you want to finish the model, you have to do some painting, but you are not good in painting. So you try to learn the skill of painting, of the different colors, of the different palettes. Soon you've learned color theory, soon you've learned the different painting, different brushes. So you've ended up being an artist in that sense, or being a painter in that sense. There are multiple things that you learn along the way given this. So as I was alluding to earlier, admittance and self-discovery go hand in hand. You cannot have one without the other. But one thing I'd like to impart with this one is we have to learn how to admit first before we discover ourselves. Because we can discover ourselves and we can say, let's say for example, oh, I'm I'm a very greedy person. I would I would use all the money in the world, or the money that I have, and spend very little of it. And we may discover within ourselves that we are greedy, but do are we actually admitting that we are greedy? Not necessarily. With admittance, we're able to accept that we are greedy. Greed is just an example here. This can apply to other things, like for example, I am not faithful in my own relationship. I am not I'm not as a studious person as I want to be, or I'm not the person that I need to be. We have to admit to ourselves first before we discover why. Because once we know our why, then we can move forward as well. So with the vulnerability and the why together, we can bring we can bring ourselves at the very least forward. So how does this bring us closer to self-forgiveness? Well, we have to we have to stop being sorry for ourselves. Yes, it's okay to feel the things that you do, and it's okay to be anxious and depressed about how we feel. But in order to move forward, we have to ask help from others. We have to ask why. And in order to move forward, one thing that we all have to do is to admit. We have to admit that we are not not necessarily good at what we do, or or how not okay we are. And after that, we have to discover why we feel a certain way. This is why us coaches are want to help you discover yourself, or therapists as well. So there are multiple avenues that can help you discover yourself. You can do it on your own. You can do it with the help of a coach, or you can do it with a therapist. So I leave you with this then. Before I move on to the next topic for next week, which are goals, name something that you want to admit, that it's very hard for you to admit, and then ask yourself, why do you feel that certain way, so that we can move forward with our goals. All right. Hello, Orville. Thank you for joining me in my topic for today. All right. So with that, that will end for today's segment, or in today's episode. So as we end today's episode, let me invite you to visit our coaching hub at D Cup Coffee Republic, located at Pioneer Center compound, along Pioneer Road, corner Brixton and United Streets, Capitolio, Pasig City. It's just across by Anian Center. Our coaching hub is open physically from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. only, but virtual operations is 24/7, and we offer coaching services on demand any time of the day, any day of the week as well. Please connect with Coach Rizal through 0917-586-1661 for your coaching needs. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll hope to see you next week. Same day, same time. Love, bum, boom. See you, everyone.